out to Drew. He's been amazing. Drew's working on something really exciting coming up next. He'll actually be announcing it next week. He's got a real cool product, real cool company coming out called Gravity. So lots of cool stuff. Drew has been a dream to work with. So shout out to our boy Drew all the time. So, maybe let's kind of get into this. Would love to kind of share a little bit of our this concept of focus. And focus has been something that, to be very honest, Tribe has been great at and bad at the same time. All right. When it comes to all of these kind of elements, right, what we're starting to realize in the space is that it's very easy to get overexcited, right, on any moment about anything, right? What when in reality, Tribe is trying to identify trends, right? We really need to figure out trends. We need to really figure out ways that this market is going to figure out or deliver something that is going to be sustainable for the future. And if we can do that, how do we build for it? How do we capture it? How do we find it? And it's one of those things that even I deal with, right? It's like, I'm getting a whole bunch of notifications about, and messages from people. Oh, BTC is pumping, time to go, time to launch. All NFTs pumping, time to pump, time to get on, right? Like this is kind of where everyone starts overreacting because they haven't had any type of, positive information. So once we see one positive news, it ends up clouding our judgment. It clouds us because again, what are we really trying to do? We're really trying to fall into this hype cycle of our own that profits are right around the corner. It's almost this feeling that if we manifest it ourselves, it's going to happen. But in reality, the market has consistently told us nothing has been sustainable over the last 15 months, right? You really want to be able to stay patient. And this is actually one of the things that Tribe is really focused on. So, what do I mean by how do I build focus? Well, one of the biggest things that I've been really trying to do is recognizing two things. One is I actually deleted and removed all price charts for tokens on my phone and my computer. I do not look at daily price activity anymore of tokens. I'm not saying that all of you should do that. You shouldn't. You should always be aware. But for me, the short term price of ETH or BTC is not going to be changing the product schedule that we want, right? This is what I really wanted to do. And in doing so, right, it becomes really important for me to figure out, okay, if I remove this, what is the actual product this market needs? And what's really been amazing by working on Rumble, by working on these lots of content, I actually get a lot more clarity of what this product needs and what this market needs. And this has been about reputation. It's been able to understand like, hey, we actually need to find a way to understand who's real users in this market. Like we can't even figure that out at the moment right now. It's actually pretty crazy because we started to do a lot of this data and we've shared a little bit of this data too, but you know our last count now, and again, this isn't perfect data. This is us making certain assumptions on real user habits and behaviors, right? But what we did is that we tried to figure out how many users of the active wallets that are trading, how many of those wallets are a standalone user, an alt wallet, or like a quote unquote bot network. Um, the way we defined an alt wallet versus bot network is that usually alt wallets would be 10 or less, right? Is what we defined it as in regard to one user. Like one user would have 10 alt wallets that they're primarily driving activity with. And if they had more than 10 wallets, right, we would put that into a bot network because they're probably running this at really large scale. Again, just a soft assumption, but it still gets us to the core points we're looking at. And when we looked at this data, it gets really dark. Like it gets darker every time I do analysis on this data. Like and it's funny because no one else is doing this type of analysis in a meaningful way. And what do I mean by that is like honestly, our last count shows that bots and alt accounts now outweigh between 26 to 30 to 1 ratio, right? So, sorry, let me restate that. For every one real user, there's probably 30 alt or bot accounts behind them, right? That's crazy. A 1 to 30 ratio, right? Less than what? 3.37% of our users are actually real and the rest are going to be extractive based accounts rather than value creation accounts. How the fuck are you going to survive? Right? How are you going to survive in such a market with those types of numbers? Even if our numbers are 1 to 10, right? If we go back down, what you're realizing here, right? It becomes a really large challenge, right? And because of this, right, what you're going to see is then there's a very fair assumption to note 30 to 50% of allocations are probably going to alter bot accounts at a minimum. And we actually started to do a little bit of this analysis on a few of the other projects that have recently minted. And we looked at a few, and for example, Sugartown, and this is no shot at Sugartown. A lot of people struggle with this, and even we're struggling with this. When we look at Tribe's holder base, but when we looked at Sugartown, we looked at 38% of their accounts would fall into alts or bots at the moment right now, where the primary was included, and we'd only count them as an alt if the alt primary account was also whitelisted too. That's crazy, right? If you're looking at that much of people who are probably looking to extract for sell pressure right at the start, you're going to have a really tough time sustaining floor. So you have to rotate out. And they've rotated out of most of them, which is a good thing. But in general, right, what you end up running into is this core problem is that there's not enough real users. And that needs to be a major element of our focus. Find real users, right? Find real users. That needs to be one of our core focuses. And this is kind of where Tribe has been building one of our core product elements as well. But the second thing that we're also trying to focus on is find real product market fit. This is also another really important thing as well, is that when you're finding product market fit, the biggest thing in the biggest challenge in this market is recognizing two things. There's almost been no product market fit in this market. Literally, there's been no product market fit in this market on any front of Web3. Almost all the NFTs that we're seeing here, maybe it's speculator product fit, right? Or speculator market fit. But in regard to actual revenues being generated here, right? What you start recognizing really quickly is that majority of this entire entity is unsustainable. This entire market is unsustainable. And because of that, we've almost are living in our own fever dream, believing that Web3 could be something more. But none of these guys are generating real long-term revenue outside of maybe Pudgy's, right? And we still got to see what Pudgy's margins are and where they're at, but they're probably the only outlier. Like how much revenue is actually, a company um like Bored Ape and Yuga actually generating that is from non-ape coin spend? It's relatively low. And you can start asking yourself across all this, does Azuki generate any revenue today? Realistically, no, right? Nothing meaningful, right? There's not an actual product that they're offering that has any sense of sustainability or market fit. It's primarily the hype. And this is kind of what you end up running into as a major challenge in this space, right? Is that if there isn't real product market fit, that should be your focus. Find one of those product market fits that you could be able to get into and scale. And this is another reason why most of our vector of focus here in Q4 is figuring out new product lines that we believe can actually describe an opportunity to capture product market fit. Doesn't mean that it's only Web3 product market fit. We're also looking at Web2 product market fit as well. So because of that, right, what are we really trying to do? We're trying to stay focused, right? And one of my favorite songs is an old school song, if you're into hip hop, with Wale and Kid Cudi, literally called Focused, which is great. Let me see if I can play it. Well, I'll play it and I'll
Once
sound
everything
really
is
shitty.
perfectly
Hold
organized.
on. Where's Wale? Okay, there we go. Uh, okay, I'm not. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna play well, so I'm just gonna drop the link for it. Yeah, I love me some old school Kid Cudi, bro. Yeah, they're old school. I mean, no one talks about Wale anymore. This is a school album. When I say old school, I'm talking about like 10 years ago, right? I love Wale. If you remember old school Wale, bro, this guy made a mixtape leveraging Seinfeld tracks. Oh, so great. And Kid Cudi, honestly, most people have missed out on Kid Cudi. He had like a really rough stretch in the middle where there was like 4 albums that were straight trash. In my opinion, there were a few good tracks, but most of the albums are trash. But then he bookended incredibly well, right? He was able to have, he had Day and Night at the start, and Man on the Moon 2, and then yeah, he created Man on the Moon 2, right? Or 3. I already forgot recently. It was great. So those are some really great albums that kind of came through that product experience. But I always use songs. This is actually something you're going to see from me with a lot of our product evolution. I'm really weird. When I'm building something, I'm literally listening to either one album or one track on repeat. right? And the reason for it is that it's trying to keep me in a flow, trying to keep me in a tempo, try to keep me in the execution, but also reminding me why I'm doing this, right? So like when I was building Tribe, right? Like I was literally listening to a song by another hip hop artist named Jadena, which I really liked, and he had this great song literally called Tribe. And it's all about like finding your tribe, who's your tribe, where's your tribe. And I would literally listen to this song over and over again when I was building some of the interesting stuff. Same thing when I was actually building the initial concept for Diamonds, right? It was actually Diamond Dancing with Future and Drake, were the actual song. And the reason I bring this up is right is like there's actually a motivation into everything that we're trying to build, right? And that's kind of the fun thing here is that there's always something that is going to be at the core of where we're going, the core of what we're building. And this is going to allow me to stay focused, right? Stay focused on what is trying to be built, stay focused on where we're trying to go, stay focused on trying to build something that sustains. And this is the hardest thing is no one in the space can stay focused, right? Everyone gets super excited over one small note and they want to overemphasize their product roadmap for that. And even Tribe got caught into that a little bit, right? And but the great thing is that we don't just push it out for the sake of pushing out. Some could say that Tribe probably jumped too early on the Ordinals bandwagon, right? But the idea was is that we were pushing it out because we started to see a trend start to form. But the trend wasn't sustainable, right? So what did we do? We pulled back on the Ordinals play. We still listened, right? We were evaluating and identifying. We aren't going to push it for the sake of pushing it. This is actually the major reason why Tribe is still alive today. We haven't pushed out shit for the sake of it, right? We only push out stuff that we believe can be sustainable. And that becomes kind of our whole opportunity of kind of scaling long term. So building this focus, right, means that we have to still be able to be live with where the market is going, but still be willing to have conviction on where we want to lead the market. And this is probably the biggest shift in our change over the last 2 months, to be very honest. We were always trying to be quote unquote first movers, but kind of first mover followers, what I would say. Meaning that we wanted to be positioned to see a new trend and be able to capture it relatively quickly if we felt it was sustainable, right? And that's what Tribe's first era was. But what we're now kind of moving into this next era is that we can't wait on anyone else. We need to start building those products ourselves, and we're going to lead the charge. So this is going to be a really large element of where we're going. And it's funny, you say Wild West crypto, right? When are you going to move to SocialFi? SocialFi is actually on our roadmap. It's a very different perspective of where we think SocialFi is. But if I'm going to be very transparent, SocialFi is step two after reputation, right? It's part of that step two, right? What do we actually think where this market's going to go? It's those that actually end up building a social network with financial incentives within it, right? And but it's very different because right now we have financial networks, right? Sorry, financial incentives that tap on or tack on a social network, right? That's not what we're interested in. We want to figure out a way that's actually way more sustainable. And the real reason why we're looking at what the concept of social systems will be is that I actually believe the first major breakout in Web3 will be a social network, not a game network. And if you could figure out a way to build social network, right, what becomes really powerful then is that you could use that and leverage that for gaming networks, for everything else. The difference here is that because the financial incentives are the only reason you're on those social networks, they're not networks, right? You're just playing the game in order to extract as much as you can until this system ends. This is why SocialFi isn't really sustainable right now, right? Everything is disconnected. And while with crypto, you're exactly right. The way I actually think SocialFi is going to work in the future is recognizing that Web3 is already built into 1,000 to 2,000 guilds. How do you actually figure out a way to connect them? It's not SocialFi on an individual level, it's SocialFi in collective groups. If you could figure out a way to build that, ooh, there's something interesting there. But again, I speak to that as something that's still like 6 months out. It's not something that we're trying to build that through. What we really want to figure out is okay, we want reputation and identity to be solved. We want trust. If Tribe could become one of the first trusted networks of users out there, we have extreme leverage. And we already have that like already without the system built, right? Most of the tribe partners that come to us all tell us they're coming to us because they trust the access. They see the real users. They come into our live chats, right? There's a belief that we've curated this audience to be able to allocate. Even the fact that you have to bid with relics to be able to get access already gives you more trust because there's a users who believe in your project. They may believe in your project for extraction purposes, or they may believe in your project for value purposes, right? But in reality, what's actually happening is we're giving better product market fit for these customers than any other network. Because what are all the other networks doing? Random raffle. Holy shit. Random raffles, literally the worst thing you can do. You know who rejoices when random raffles happen? Bots and alt accounts. That's the only people who are actually rejoicing at this point, right? While on the flip side, we actually go through the entire product, yeah, the entire vision. We can absolutely share all of these insights, and that means that you're actually bringing aligned users along. So if we've already done this as kind of a very simplistic launch, what becomes really exciting is what if we actually productize this network? What if we allow this to actually be an on-chain reputation network? And I think that's where this is already going. And we already have one layer of the on-chain reputation. Like if you really wanted to know how to get access to Tribe users right now, like great, just allocate to people with Soul and Soul 2, right? Like that's actually an easy way. And of course, diamonds, right? These are already one layers of on-chain reputation. But the problem is, right, is that with on-chain reputation, though, not all of those users are real, especially if you're in Genesis Soul, right? Because that got overhyped in the initial market. There's a reason why on Soul 2, we didn't overhype it. We didn't even tweet about it realistically, right? I think we might have put like one small tweet about it, but it wasn't anything to be hyped because the goal wasn't to get people who weren't listening to Mint. It was already those who were actively listening and found the value to, and that's kind of where you start creating a much more aligned community. So this is where our focus remains. Our focus continues to move down this direction to ensure that we're going to deliver more value to each and every one of you because you've been here, you've been showcasing your real value, and you showcase that you actually have real identity. And this is exactly where the tribe passports and the port key come in, because not only are we going to be able to have your historical data here when you look at any of your guys' accounts, it's amazing, right? Just click it and you can see everyone's, how long they've been here. You could even see what partner assets they own. You can see what content they usually engage with, right? And you can see what they've done in previous seasons as well. And that's a very powerful thing, right? That's a huge element. What if we took all this data and made it on chain for other people to access? Like straight up, like if I'm looking to distribute to users in this market, like I'm just clicking the next people on this list, right? Based off what I've seen is like, holy shit, like Torts. I would love to give this dude an allocation to a product that he showcased interest in. When I look at Torts '07, this dude has bought two souls from Tribe. He owns an Ether as well. He's been extremely active in previous seasons with a golden and a Titan orb as well. And then he's very active this season as well. Like that becomes very clear for a user or a community to recognize this is a way better allocation partner than anything else here as well. And you could do this with every other name here as well, which I think is what I love, right? Go check out, any of our diamond holders, right? With every diamond holder, you'll see the same thing, right? You'll see multi-diamond holders, right? Which means that holy shit, these guys are holding 3, 4 ETH assets individually themselves. They own multiple souls. You look at Killam, you see he's also an Ether whale, right? And an Ether citizen. This dude is an absolute guy you'd want, and he's extremely active. This dude might be someone you would pay money to bring into your project because this dude's willing to whale, this dude's willing to be active, and this dude's willing to support, right? And that's kind of where it becomes really, really valuable as well. And this is kind of the other thing that most of this market doesn't realize is that if you could actually find people who will stick around with projects and give them ability to have conviction, it becomes really compelling. It becomes really exciting. And that's where I think this entire, opportunity in this space is going to be really strong. And this is why diamonds and soul and all these pieces are going to be the reason why, like honestly, Web3 will come back. That is the absolute belief we do have at Tribe. We are going to anchor the revolution. That's what I want Tribe to be. And that's a really bold statement. It's a very bold statement for a project that has not really minted its core projects out yet. And I'm okay with that because it means that I only have more ammunition than everyone else who tries to line up against us. Show me a company or an entity that has more listeners, live active users, unique wallets that have paid us directly. Like if you actually think about it, if you don't take into royalties into account, there's very few entities that have had more than 10,000 unique wallets pay them. Tribe is actually one of those people at the moment right now. It's kind of insane. We have actually a huge amount of reach all through Bear. And this also becomes like another element of where we're going is that we've actually built a layer of trust that everyone will want to either follow or be a part of, right? Because if we could get to a point where, like, if people actually realize, if you step back and if you actually think about this and realize, Tribe held about 50% of the allocation power for dimensionals. And I would argue Dimensionals might have been one of the best allocated projects in the space, right? Especially what Tribe did. Don't get me wrong, we had the Nate incident, right, where you were able to, where Sasha's giving out to the wrong people at times. But if you actually look about what we're doing for Dimensionals, that thing was perfectly allocated in the middle of the bear, right? What was really great, like, holy shit, that thing hit a 3 ETH floor in bear, right? On a 1,000 supply. That is crazy, right? And that was like one of the best things. And we know we can do this with all village partners. Same thing, right? When I know there's patience here, right? But there's reasons why Jungle is being patient. If we're not minting, why would we be recommending Jungle to be accelerating their mint? They also want to figure out a way. But same thing with Jungle, we have probably 50% of allocation power, right? For TWL, we'll have about 30% of allocation power there as well. And because of that, we'll be able to allocate internally, but we'll also help them with external partners too. This is where Tribe becomes a different beast. If Tribe can be the trusted partner to allocate to users in a bot driven world, we will win. We will become the distribution powerhouse out there. And all we need to get initially to start is like 3,000 to 5,000 qualified users. Once we hit that number, oh my goodness, we are going to be in a position of leverage like no other, right? Because with that, how would you launch with anyone else aside from Tribe? We're the only network that would be able to like diminish the amount of bots and alts by 90%, right? We'll never get to 100%, right? But the other thing that's also really powerful as well is that we could do live audio content, right? We're not even marketing anything around Rumble, and that's consistently hitting around 250 to 300 concurrent listeners, right? Which literally makes it one of the largest shows in, right? Starting this week, we will start actually pushing it up. I think that show could get to 400 to 500 concurrent listeners if we bring on the right speakers and the right rewards as well behind that. It's huge. We could do that with any partner, right? You guys saw what we did with Sasha and Saint. Sasha and Saint was bringing in consistently 400, 500 concurrent users, right? This is kind of the other powerful thing of where we're going. This entire market is something that we could actually form and build. And what are we trying to another building block for people to come to us as well. And then what if we opened up our village partnerships to bring on more individuals that are aligned with great, then we have another distribution partnership as well and another building. These are the building blocks we're trying to assemble, especially here in this bear. And this is what our focus is. Put these four building blocks together and build something that is incredibly sustainable. So when I see all these different market trends, I'm happy. I'm happy for the market. I'm happy that Bitcoin and ETH and Sol are all pumping. I'm happy to see NFTs be a little bit more green. Although if you look today, they're back to red a little bit as well as they're giving back a lot of those gains, but traditional, not a huge bad side. It just shows you that we're going to stay focused. We have bigger things in play, and we're going to ensure that value is coming back to each and every one of you in every way we can. And that's through relics, that's through allocations. But what are we really trying to do? If you are a real user, Tribe's goal in 2024 is that if you're one of our real users into, right? And then effectively you get this new port key that comes in. What's amazing here is that all of you who will have that qualified port key, our goal is to get you automatically whitelisted to all the best products. And I'm not meaning just like one of you or 10 of you. I mean hundreds, if not thousands of you. That's what I want to get, right? I want to get to a point where when someone says I need to allocate 10,000, I'm giving 5,000 to try, right? I want to get to a point where even if we get large enough, hey, I need to allocate K, I'm going to give 25K to Tribe. That's the type of leverage you want to be able to get to because, again, especially for those who are doing free mints, a lot of people are going to be doing free mints. There's no better partner in this space than Tribe. Literally, there's no better partner, allocation partner, launch partner, strategy partner than Tribe. And now what we need to do is showcase this with real data, real insights, and real capital. So what's the other reason why we're staying focused? And here's like the fifth magic building block here as well. The fifth building block is we need to professionalize all of these elements and build this into a narrative to also bring on external capital into the entity too. One of the biggest things here is Tribe's been building this all at a bare bones level. That's the crazy thing. We have less treasury than 90% of startups out there, right? Honestly, 99% of venture backed startups were probably less than in terms of actual treasury and capital. Yet we've been able to build here very cost effectively and get to this point. It doesn't mean we're perfect. It does mean that we have to figure out other ways. But what happens if we get to a point where we could bring in a few more millions of dollars? Right? We're already good at allocating capital. Adding in $2 to $5 million on top of this entity gives us way more breathing room and way more leverage as well. So these are why we're trying to stay focused. We're building the entire vision, the entire process to accelerate the venture opportunity as well behind this entity. And we've already started to have those conversations. We hope that will probably be something that will come to fruition in Q1 of next year. But as we all want, right, our whole challenge is that we want to keep scaling out, right? We want to keep building these elements and stay focused on the strategies that matter most to us. And this is where our focus will remain. Don't get me wrong, we're going to continue to get you guys better allocations. And you've seen some of that as well. Like if you actually look at the we gave, there were actually pretty good profits here and there, right? If you played the game in to Wallet Wars, there was a rough 2x there. Not bad. Not I'm giving you guys a little bit like of Subway money or Happy Meal money for not too shabby, right? Same thing. What you're also seeing as well is that, if you played the crazy Michelin game at one point, right? Michelin did hit what was it? I think it hit like 0.13. It's probably come back a little bit more. Let me just look at where Michelin is. Yeah, it's at zero point 0.1 roughly. The top bid's at 0.1. The floor's at 0.097. Interesting, right? You could have had maybe 2x there as well. But again, I don't recommend it. That's a lot thinner and they had to cut supply to be able to get there, right? And then, similarly, right, we also saw Geoverse try to launch today. And again, they ran into a lot of problems, right? But these were all problems that we knew, right? Huge. Oh, Michelin hit 0.17, 0.19. Wow, that's actually crazy. Yeah, I mean, but that's usually what happens with a brand that cuts supply. We were talking about that in one of our earlier ones. Although I wouldn't have been confident in that play because I just don't see enough utility. But hey, it just proves you right. Like, hey, if you can do this correctly, we'll see if Geoverse can come back again. I think the biggest problem here, right, is that Geoverse is is going to struggle because they already had wrong supply, wrong price, and now they've essentially shut down the mint and they're going to remint tomorrow now, right? And this is kind of the other problem, right? Is that our biggest challenge is you only really have one. I don't think this is going to be something that's going to resustain. Oh, it's live again. Oh, I thought. Oh, they're still trying to mint. Oh, no wonder why all of you are laughing. Okay, yeah, it's bad. Um, and this is the problem is like Geoverse just really needed to put these numbers first and foremost right here, right? It should have been, I think it's now 0.025 and what 2,400 supply, something like that. And it just looks, it honestly looks like you're an immature entity, right? Which sucks. They didn't know how to manage or value the actual interest in their entity prior to mint. And because of that, right, you're just going into this major challenge of whether or not you're going to actually allow this market to be excited again about your product. And that's what effectively happens if you don't get your mint structure right. And a lot of this was pretty predictable, right? And there's a reason why we wanted to make sure that we're also giving you guys these allocations really cheap. You could have got Michelin for 2 relics. You could have got Geoverse for 2 relics. Wallet Wars, I think a lot of you guys overpaid. Some of you got it for 30 relics. Some of you got it for 20 relics here as well. But again, it means that we're still protecting you guys with your relics. And that's the important thing. Relics are giving you a currency that are only going to go up when the market becomes healthy. Stay patient, right? If you actually believe in this, right, you could actually be in a really good spot. And then same thing, be patient on holding certain Genesis assets. I think that was the other major thing we've learned because if you look at the other large allocations we got, a lot of these Genesis assets are now doing really well, especially the small supply, right? What is actually happening right now? Well, look, like let's go check out a few of the other ones that we got large allocation for. Weebox is a good example, right? Or San Fran Tokyo. I do hate that those are two different names, but that's a whole different thing. San Fran Tokyo Weebox is now up to 0.24 or kind of the last sales at the moment right now. Great, like free mint to 0.24. Like this is holding at very similar levels of Sugartown. It took a little bit of time to mature, right? It was around zero point 0.1 for quite a bit of time. You could even have bought between 0.06 and 0.09. And then, again, after about a month and a half of building or, kind of building into hype with it move up as long as your supply is small. And again, they still have a 2,000 supply with 1,000 unique owners, which is pretty solid as well. So that's been really healthy to be able to see. And again, if you look back, right, with other large allocations we gave, right, Grapes is still doing really well, still holding around zero point 0.5 ETH. Tribe had the largest allocation to that as well. And then same thing. Let's see where ZTX is at the moment right now. I know they're dropped quite a bit, the Z Genesis tokens after the token sale, right? But I mean, crazy. You saw one of the most insane token airdrops happen, which I still don't understand how it makes sense. But at 0.2369, 0.24 ETH at the moment right now on 0.06 ETH mint, I believe it was. So that's a nice 4x here. Again, realistically, for a lot of people, they were able to get almost like 1 to 2 ETH worth of value per home. So if you're looking at that, oh my God, that was like a 20x, 30x built into this to a certain extent if you were able to hold. Again, I faded it because I fade Arbitrum all the time. It's still a very interesting thing. I'm not really sure why this is sustaining at this level. It's still one of the most insane outliers on the market, right? And that's kind of the big challenge here is, right, we really want to make sure that we share and understand these designs. And this is kind of the other problem, right, in this market is that, again, people are still going to struggle, right? We're still all really excited about certain opportunities, but when we're getting excited for point 0.1 to 0.25, right? Don't get me wrong, that's good money, right? If you're looking at it from an ROI perspective, right? Great, I'll take, whatever, $400, $500 on a 0.25 ETH anytime, right? Like I'll always, tap into that. But if that's the ceiling of what we're talking about for most of these opportunities, oh, it's a tough market. So why would we ever like remove our focus to anything else? Has anyone really seen anything massively sustain organically around zero point 0.5 or 1 ETH? Not really, right? Really, not really. It's just it becomes like a big challenge in this space. So this is kind of why, Tribe is still trying to make sure that, hey, there's a lot of different things that are happening. There's a lot of different pieces that are occurring, and we as Tribe need to continue to do this. And this is why Tribe's also taking risks, right? What's interesting is we took the risk with Ether. Not that it was a risk in terms of a project, it was risk because it was not our traditional partnership, right? We traditionally never partner with projects post mint. But in this case, we wanted to try it. And what was great about that is we ensured that the number one economic term in any of these partnerships was allocation back to our community. So we just airdropped over 75 ethers to our community and capsules. And the capsules we have are kind of rare. Actually, two of our capsules had ether corrupts in them. They actually ended up getting sold and bought by somebody else. But what's crazy is those capsules are trading for like zero point 0.5 ETH now in this market, right? Which is crazy. I know Killam. I know you gave up one of them. Killam sold his capsule and it had a corrupt, and I think Mushan was the other one. Which I think is really interesting, which could be pretty great. So I think like, again, it's pretty fun though because we get to give it all to everyone and you guys are gonna have a choice, right? So yeah, Bonesta, if I were listing, I'd list around 0.45 to 0.55 in that range. You probably will get some interesting buys. Also, it looks like the Ether capsule floor got a little bit swept, so it's already back up to like a 0.34 ETH floor already. So it's pretty nice that we were able to airdrop that. There's 25 of those already airdropped. So again, that was probably roughly 12 ETH worth of value. And then another 50 on top that were probably worth another like 7 to 8 ETH. Again, another 20 ETH airdrop kind of coming out from our community in just one partnership. And there's still more to come. We have more airdrops coming. We're going to do a little party. We actually already have figured out there's going to be some bonus allocations coming and it's bonus allo not only to diamonds but also to other holders as well in our community too, meaning that if you're holding ethers you're going to have a chance for a few free raffles coming up, which will be pretty cool. Raffles for not only the revealed ethers but also I'm going to give you one of the treasury capsules as well, which will be pretty great, which will be pretty excited. Yeah, the capsule airdrops were for incentives for diamond holders to buy ethers. So if you own 2 diamonds and you bought an ether, you're guaranteed one of the treasury capsules. That's really where we built this partnership. What was really cool is that if you guys don't know, Tribe-based holders own almost 1,000 ether NFTs. Where like it's like 895 something like that. We are like 20% of the supply now, which is crazy. And we have some major holders, right? Tribe of course is a large holder. I think we still own like 150 ourselves, right? And that's after the airdrops, right? We owned like over 230 at one point. So I think we owed like 150 still here, which is great. And then what's really nice here as well is that um the other great thing is we have guys like Joao, right? Jungle CEO. That dude owns like 75 ethers, which is pretty crazy, right? Just himself, he's like one of the largest holders too. And then we have tons of huge holders. Like I think Njonka owned 30. I think Free owned like 30 at one point as well, or high 20s before taking a little bit of profits. Again, there's a lot. 696, yeah, exactly, owns I think also 30. So a lot of those guys are also going to get like extra airdrops. Yeah, Osmouse has 20. I think I actually owe Osmouse another airdrop as well. So that'll be coming here as well. And that's the nice thing. And so, especially if you guys own Ethers, this community, we're going to be giving you guys some like unique raffles as well and unique weights. Cause that's our biggest challenge here, right? Is that we want to make sure we're incentivizing our community to come to be a part of our ecosystem too. Holy cow, Zepman owns 20. Again, this is where you could see, like, look at all these diamond holders showcasing here, right? And this is just showing you our buying power organically that could come to any of these projects. Right? Like if you're a project, like why wouldn't you go partner with Tribe where we could bring 500 to 1,000 unique buying pressure into your assets as well, right? Huge, huge value. And guess what? We're also like when we were doing active live combos there, Tribe was 60% of the community too, which is pretty crazy. Right. And that's kind of the opportunity. Killam says I owned a corrupt for 3 days. I know that's always but it was also crazy because we gave out half our supply and we still own 24 more of these treasury capsules. We gave out 26, I believe, is what we ended up giving out thus far. And of those 26, I think 8 have opened. And 8 of them, of the 8 that have opened, 2 had Ether corrupts, which is crazy. Pretty nuts to say the least. But that's also the nice thing, right? Is it gave our community a chance. But don't get me wrong, don't feel bad for Killam. I think Killam sold us for 0.5 ETH or something close to that, 0.45 ETH, right? Which is a huge multiple off that market, bro. Try to, yeah, 0.46 ETH, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie. If I own more treasury capsules, I'm fucking selling them for 0.5 ETH, right? 100%, right? Because the odds are way better to sell for 0.5 ETH on a 2x of a normal floor compared to the chances of getting a corrupt that math actually says sell for 0.45 or higher, right? Which is very, very clear. It was just unfortunate the odds are not in your favor. But this is what I do love about Tribe is that we keep giving you guys more opportunity. So, we were looking at that opportunity and we realized, like, again, Tribe's focus now needs to be more on internal stuff. And that's where we're putting a lot of our focus now moving forward. But this just shows you the wave of allocation we're going to be able to give out. Even on next Rumble episode, we're going to give out one Wii box. We're going to give out two ethers. We're going to give out a few. We're going to probably have, like, I don't know, like $1,000 worth of prizes just for listening into a show, right? And then we'll also give out some good old what else do we want? We're gonna give out Walt's Vault. We're gonna give out I can't give out the last Momo. I feel like we just have to keep that last Momo forever. And then we'll also give out a Frankie's dinner as well. So we'll have some fun. Yeah, man, I'm gonna keep stacking. I'm gonna hold that Momo to the end of time. I think that's just like one of our favorite things to leave in the vault. So you're going to see a lot more cool things coming in. If you also want to see, our Tribe Vault is also developing quite a bit. We're going to start updating it probably starting next week. But you could also start seeing, like, we're going to start holding very specific assets within our vault. And then we're also going to do some giveaways too. So for Diamond users, what's going to be really cool, actually, all of you guys will be able to do this, which will be really fun. If you own an Ether, if you win, what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you another wallet. It's actually like quote unquote my personal Ether wallet that I've been using to buy all this stuff. I'm gonna let you guys choose and pull. So if you win, you get to choose whichever Ether you want from that entire wallet, right? And there's a few good rares in that one as well too. So for example, here, let me show you what that wallet is. I think is I already forgot. I already forget half my wallets. One sec. Because yeah, I'm an alt too, right? When I was talking about those numbers, I have too many fucking wallets, and it's pretty difficult to maintain. Let me share this wallet. Here, I'll share the blur of this wallet so you guys can all see it in the portfolio really quickly. Okay, cool. So this one, you'll be able to when we start doing these raffles, either later this on the right timing here is that this is the wallet you can see. There's 75 ethers in this one at the moment right now. We have removed 30 ethers from our total supply here that we have, and that's actually still in the Tribe Vault. Those are mainly clean ethers or specific characters that have certain rare traits that we want to build IP around in the future. But there's actually quite a few here as well in this 75 that you could check out. And in doing so, there's quite a few different opportunities. Oh, nice. Bruno's also sharing the OpenSea link for that too, if you need to go connect to it. And you could see there's quite a few cool ones in there still, which is nice. There's actually a whole bunch of TWL. Let me click just the Ether avatars. If I remember correctly, there's a beast. There's spirit shooters. There's one of my favorite purple butterflies ones. There's a money phone. There's one of the rare black masks. It's called what's it called? It's what trade is it? The mask is the bone helm. It's the black bone helm. It's one of the rarest. There is a devil on the shoulder. This one's pretty cool. And then I think there's one more. Oh, there's a Oni back, and there's M4, and I think there was one more. Yeah, there's a gold Uzi. There's another Oni back that's actually pretty rare. It's a vamp with a pink umbrella and pink Oni backgrounds too. And there's a couple other like rare M4 that. So there's some pretty cool ones just in that group. So we'll allow you like this is one of my favorite ones here too. But yeah, I mean this is gonna be the kind of cool thing is that you're gonna get a lot of cool ones that kind of unlock. Yeah, Moonbags, that's a cool one too. There's quite a few in here that you guys will be choose. So again, we'll make it fun. We'll make it a grab bag. So the way it's gonna work is you have to be live in the show. So we're gonna find some times and appointments. And the fun thing is that once you get drawn and you're the winner, you'll get to pick live on stage. So you kind of have to know what you're gonna pick, or you're gonna get one randomly. You have like 1 minute to pick, and if you don't pick, it gets randomly assigned, and we go to the next winner. So we'll have fun. We'll distribute like 10 to 20 of these out as well. Tribe still wants to maintain a treasury that we can continue to give these prizes long term. So lots of cool things that are going to be coming out here and just making it fun. Yeah, that's really what we want. we've been building and collecting these assets too, right? Which will be pretty nice. Outside of that, right, what we're also going to be able to do is we have a decent amount of other treasury too. We have, there's keen sites that are going to be distributed here shortly to our community, especially our diamond holders, which, we've been taking our time on, but we have more than enough. They're already in the vault. And then the other thing that's going to be really cool is that we're going to show you a couple other assets. So we should also have, I think, 5 Weebox in the vault as well. So those will and then separately, I think we have like 5 Galaxis, which unfortunately, I still believe that could turn it around if they just put a little bit of buy pressure, which is mind boggling to me. They haven't done that yet. It would be such an easy win, but we haven't seen that yet. We'll kind of see where that comes out. And then I think we have a handful of other like prizes. I think the only thing I'm missing that I wish we kept, but I was just honestly too nice, is I gave out all of our grapes aloe. I wish I kept like 5 more grapes. I made that mistake in the treasury. We just gave them all out because I just wanted to be really nice. And I'll be very honest, I never fucking thought grapes was gonna hit point 0.5 ETH in this market, right? We were talking about a project that was near death. I was like, oh, this might hold point 0.1, point 0.2, but give credit to grapes, man. They massively outperformed everything. Very, very interesting. Yeah, man, I'll be very honest. Kill him. That's actually the reason I faded it, right? It was like on reveal, I was like, how the fuck are people going to use this? Because here's the funny thing, grapes is cooking, but I have never seen a single person use grapes as a PFP outside the founders. I literally have never seen one on Twitter come through wearing a grapes PFP. So I actually thought it was gonna fade away after the reveal. But yeah, who gives a fuck, right? What you saw from this market is we are straight up degen speculators. Give me tokens. Give me tokens. And this is also just something that you really want to figure out is like when tokens are going to come in, right? And kind of change this. Ooh, that's brutal silent mode. Silent mode says he minted 8 and sold them all. Oh, that 8 would have been a nice, cool 4 ETH right now. If not, could even be more depending on this airdrop as well. It's going to actually be really interesting. I'm very curious to see how their token's going to do. Some of you were asking, is season 3 wrapping up soon? Yeah, we expect season 3 to wrap up next week. We're going to kind of close it up. We're gonna share a larger update about all your core relics and how the passive relic systems are going to work. You've already been allocated the relics at the bottom, but there's almost no features or anything designed to them. They're all kind of gray, but you're going to see some colors, you're going to see some breakdowns, and you're going to see a post. And with that, you'll be able to have a much better understanding of your total amount of relics. So if you've been capturing these core relics now, guess what? You're going to get a shit ton of relics coming your way, which will be great. And that means you're going to have more buying power, right, as we go into the next wave compared to most of the other individuals as well. And this is where, again, accumulate buying power, accumulate a currency that continually gives you reward. I know it's funny that we talk about like, oh shit, what is there to spend on assets right now? But again, if you just look historically, right? Tribe has been giving you some at least one win a month, almost pretty much consistently, right? One win meaning like over point 0.2 ETH a month. There's always a point 0.2 ETH play. It's just figure out which one's worth holding and which one do you have conviction in. But Tribe is still allowing that, right? Which is pretty amazing to say the least. And when we get these wins, we're still getting the largest aloe. I mean, I know it's Geoverse and it's not doing well, but it got again a 250 total aloe for our, right. If we go look at Wallet Wars, another 250 allocation to our community. If we go look at Michelin, a 200 allocation to our community. We are the largest allos across the board, right? Which is really, really valuable as well. Wild West asks, could holding relics give you potentially more relics than using them in any? Not really, but we're gonna make it fun where you could allow you to quote unquote gamble relics if you want. So we've been doing stuff where you're able to gamble poker to be able to earn rewards. But we're also going to allow you guys to figure out other ways to do this in small manners. We want to test it out. And we want to test it out where I don't want you to play it like stake.com where you all go to fucking zero, right? I don't want that. I wanted to make it where it's like, hey, maybe once a month you could choose a double down play, right? It's like, hey, it's like, okay, one of the weird things I've been doing is I spent a lot of time with my family this past week, and one of my favorite shows that my parents watch, my mom watches specifically, is Game Show Network, GSN. And it's just this old school, it's all these reruns of all the there, right? Yeah, like Whammy, if you remember that, like high card, low card, 21, Pictionary. I don't know. There's all these random, really weird ass games, right? One verse 100. But I also thought, like, shit, those, like, although they're really annoying to watch on television because they just cram them with a bunch of ads, but I thought it'd be really cool if we break some of those game experiences here within our Discord and allow you guys to kind of play versus each other, allow you guys to kind of have your own way of gambling. Like, wouldn't it be fun? It's like every month you could pull a card and the card is like, you have to wager first, like, hey, how many relics do you want to wager, right? Like 10 relics, 25 relics, or 50 relics, let's say. And then it's like, okay, I put 50 relics in. Then I'll be like, great, 50 relics committed, you're gonna get a card. The card is, let's say, a 10. You have to then bet, is the next card gonna be higher or lower than the 10? Right? That's what you're betting on, right? And it'll be pure real odds all on chain. And then you can have this kind of fun little mini game of being like, I'm gonna bet lower. Statistically, it should be lower. So you're gonna bet lower. And then great. If you get an 8 on the next card, huzzah, you've doubled your relics, right? And you can kind of scale that out, right? If it's not, you lose your relics there. Is that a game? And you could choose whether or not you want to play the game. And then you could choose the amount of relics you're willing to bet, so you could kind of build your risk tolerance as well. And if you suck at gambling, don't touch any of them. You can let them go. But we want to figure out fun little ways to allow you guys to have a way to not only earn more relics, but also, like, create a little bit of noise around relics here as well. Right. And we're going to kind of create all these different game experiences a little bit later, because what we're starting to realize is we've seeded a currency to you. On our last show, and I'll wrap up here because I do have to go to some calls here shortly. One of the things that I think is really amazing, our whole opportunity around Tribe has been thinking about how do we actually allocate tokens correctly. And what Tribe's done is we've actually created a spout of currency that can only be earned by you. And by earning, right, it means that you have to attend events, be able to engage, you have to own a token. There's all these different variables. And what's really amazing is that you've gotten a very large amount of users who are still active in valuing this currency. Well, if that's the case, we should create more games and more utility for that currency as well. And we were hoping the market would continue to sustain the utility around it. But let's be honest, it's been garbage, right? It's honestly been hot garbage in a lot of ways. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you guys a bunch more opportunities to make it fun to use these relics, engage these relics. Okay, I'll give you a little bit more insight. We're gonna share this after season 3 ends up, right? But we're also gonna allow you to use relics to bid on non-whitelist allocation. So there's going to be a few physical prizes if you want to bid on those as well. The other thing that we're going to do, because it continues to get requested, is it's going to be like, conversations. Do you want a one-on-one meeting with Saint? Do you want a one-on-one meeting with anyone else on our team? You could have those, and we'll talk about anything you want for 30 minutes. The idea is that we want to find different ways for you guys to get value by participating in this ecosystem as well. And hopefully, we'll have feet picks. Drew's already said he's going to offer his feet picks. So if you want to buy Drew's feet picks, you could always do that. Yeah, same thing, Virgilius. That's actually a great one, right? We could do commissions with some of our artists. Like, do you want a custom pixel art character from Gokche? Do you want to be added into the next game as a full custom pixel? Do you want to turn one of your NFTs into a amazing one-of-one piece of art from Joey, our comic book artist, who's been building these characters? If we can get to those types of points, I think you're going to see a lot more fun ways of why we value you guys collecting these relics. And a lot of you still value us, which is amazing, right? Even though allocation slowed up, what's been amazing, right? What's been amazing is that all of you guys are going to be able to continue to be here and aggregate when the market comes back in your favor, right? And that's what we hope. We hope the market comes back in all of our favor. And when it comes back in all of our favor, our power still remains. We haven't lost allocation power, right? We don't lose anything on this front. The market has just lost value, right? That's really all it is. But we're still getting top allos. We're pretty much getting 90% of the projects we want. It's amazing. And we really want to be able to create that as well. And yeah, Wild West Crypto, I mean, Diamonds all get an ability to have a one-on-one meeting with myself for no cost or anything. We're always happy to talk about your products and stuff you might be building. We're happy to give connections wherever we can. I think that's kind of where we want to put all these pieces together so that it's going to open up. Shu says, "I would wonder if we could spend relative Saint reveal." I mean, the Saint reveal is already. I mean, it's already happened. If you're paying enough attention, it's not that hard to figure out who I am. Secondly, the reveal will happen because I will be moving to probably in Q1. To be really honest, it'll be like January, February. I'll be moving to live streaming. So you'll see video streams with me. I don't mind doing that as well, right? But our goal really, to be very transparent, is um, it's actually easier for me not to reveal, mainly because when I'm in audio, I am right now laying in bed, right, with two dogs next to me and just chilling. That's how comfortable this experience is as well, too. And because of that, it makes it really fun, really exciting to really allow me to do the work I need, right? And move faster, right? When you're actually doing video streamers, like shout out to all the video streamers, they have to put on a face, they have to look and set up the room, they have to be in the same place. Ugh. I'm not about that life, man. I'm like I'm definitely way lazier, way about that. But I will shift my lifestyle to meet our growth needs. Tribe wants to scale on both YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. We believe these are all going to be meaningful verticals. I'm going to help build content, and I'm not ignorant. I know I play a very large role in the value of Tribe's identity and Tribe's voice. So I should be putting myself out there more. So just know like that will be a part of the process, and most diamonds know who I am. It's not hard to find out who I am. To be very transparent, it's not hard to go see through the history of where I've been working of knowing who I am if you really want to. But I think what's very simple. Sorry, I'm laughing at ICOB saying Satan killed my parents, and yet he still bought a diamond from us. So I must have done something right, which I love and I appreciate here as well, which is great. So we're gonna have some fun on bringing out the entire identity stuff. It's great. But know that that's going to be a part because again, I don't believe that I should be quote unquote anonymous, right? I want to be willing to be in the pie to allow you guys to be anonymous, right? Which I think is important, right? For allowing you guys to have the optionality for that as well. But what I do think is really nice of maintaining a quasi anonymous identity is that it doesn't worry about us on what my Web2 identity is. Let's focus on what we're trying to build in Web3 because that's actually the opportunity about Web3. It's the ability to form a new identity, right? It's the ability to become who you truly were destined to be. That is absolutely what I love about. You can meet the people you want. You could be the person you want to be. You could connect with other people that you traditionally would not. There's no stigmas involved in regard to your identity unless you're still rocking a Bored Ape. No, I'm joking. It's funny though, right? It's that you're creating a new sense of identity, right? Like you might have certain thoughts of people who wear a certain tattoo, right? But same thing. You might have thoughts of people in Web3 who rock a certain PFP. And that's kind of where it becomes really fun in this kind of structure, right? So here's where I'm really trying to like solve this is that I really want to make sure that our whole opportunity continues to scale collectively. I want to be part of this community with you. I actually think one of the biggest mistakes that guys like Frank did is that I think Frank revealed his identity to her. All right. And the reason for that is that when Frank reveals his identity, they now treat him like a CEO, right? It's like, hey, Rohan, right? That's his real name, Rohan Vora. I'm not doxing him. He's already publicly doxed all this shit, right? Where like now it's like, hey, Rohan, as a CEO, how are you delivering value, right? It removes this facade of I'm part of the community, let's collectively lead versus I am CEO. I don't refer to myself as CEO that often. I really don't. I only say it on public stuff because I don't view myself as a CEO of this entity. I just view myself as a slightly like older big brother who is like taking this community to a new heights, a new promised land, right? Like that's really what I want. I'm not really focused on status. I'm not really focused on all of that stuff. I don't need praise from anyone. I don't give a fuck about any of that, right? What do I actually want to do? I just want to build valuable things. I want to take us and usher us to a new opportunity. And that's where I think this value of living behind this kind of anonymous identity allows for that, because it allows us to stay blurred in the way we interact with each other, not this hard fact of, oh, this is the dude, this is the guy who's done X, Y, and Z, this guy's gonna build. Like, fuck my Web 2 identity, to be very honest. Right. And it's not because I wasn't successful or anything like that. I've done a lot of cool things in my Web 2 work. But the problem is the Web 2 identity almost has to the Web 3 identity I want it to become. Really. Like, really, it's like it has almost no impact. What I am building here in Web 3 is so different than Web 2, right? Literally so different than Web 2. I really want to figure out a way to scale this opportunity, be sustainable, right? Where it means that I'm thinking through a Web3 native lens, right? You guys know I've worked on top games. You guys know I've worked with venture capital investors. You guys know I've worked with private equity firms. You know I've worked in different verticals like sports and poker and a whole bunch of other verticals. That's at least enough to give you guys credibility on my history and where. But what's way more exciting is not what else I've done in the past. It's more about what am I going to do for you in the future. So using this identity has allowed for me to really have that, which will be pretty exciting too. ICOBS, we're going to have our web up for next season 100%. It might be even up before next season, just to let you know. I'm actually a really big fan of where I think sports can go in general in this market, and I also want to find a way to build this as a much more exciting product experience. This is also something that Drew and I have been cooking up a few ideas here too. We think that again, Tribe has our focus. We know what we need to deliver on, and sports is still a very meaningful category. The hilarious part is I suck at fantasy sports now. I couldn't give two fucks about playing the game, but I know how to build better playing experiences. So I'm actually really excited to create and be the operator of different sports or fantasy based game experiences. But you guys will all wreck me, which will be great. But yeah, we're gonna have American football. We'll of course do European football or international football. We'll also be looking at a few other categories too. It's gonna be really fun. And I think we're gonna have a lot of kind of cool ways to connect. And guess what? You'll only be able to buy entries into our systems through relics for some of our sports stuff, which will be really cool. So we're gonna have some fun ways of being able to distribution. And like I said, there's there is a long-term plan here, right? That if you're still here and you're capturing relics, like I'm telling you, and you're a real user. And here's the thing, I'm telling you, there's still bots in this room right now. There's alts here in this room right now, and it's okay. We're not worried about it. But what you're going to see is we're going to create more and more hurdles of being able to ensure you're a real user. And those hurdles are coming up. So if you're a real user, you have no problem, right? If you're a real user that has your own Discord, your own Twitter, and your own wallet, good. We got you. You set. We're gonna get you guys, and you're gonna get a ton of value by being here. I'm just being very transparent. If you're running alts, you're running bot account, your time is gonna be wasted. Don't do it here. Do it in any other server that isn't creating these hurdles, right? You guys remember, right, when we kicked off people from Oath, right? Everyone would be like, "Oh, you 10 alt accounts, blah 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 blah." Then when we got all 10 of their alt accounts, they all started crying, right? It was hilarious, right? And that's kind of the big thing is like we're really proud on the fact that we keep turning it down, but these guys get wrecked because it sucks for them. And I'm being very honest, it does suck for them. They did spend a lot of time building alts and bots, but Oath is already down to 870 at the moment, right? We have kicked a lot of alt, right? We're going to keep bringing that supply down. We're going to make sure Oath is going to be as slow as possible. I think Oath will probably be down under 850 when all is said and done. I think we've already done a great job on the first wave. We're going to make sure that we can do it correctly on the second wave. But this is the amazing thing. If you are still collecting relics and you are an actual real user, like we are going to ensure relics are going to be the number one way to get distributed access to for us to distribute access to upcoming launches, whether it be tribe launches or non-tribe launches, right? That's amazing. It's literally like if you think about it, relics are the currency for allocation, right? They are the best currency for allocation for one other major reason. They don't get killed. You don't lose them. They sustain value into the next market. Once you understand that, you are going to thrive at Tribe, right? And again, you don't have to show up if you want to take off a couple months, right? And that's fine. But do it. You still have your relics. You could come in once a week, just listen here and there. Maybe you just listen to Rumble. You don't have to show up to every show. Show up when it matters. Show up when you have time. Show up with your opportunity of what you're building, and you'll have a much better time here. Right. And that's the thing is like, I'm not here just to juice numbers to sake of juicing numbers. I'm here to really find the real users. And this is what we create with all of our patterns and all of our designs here too. So guys, I want to say like a huge thank you for just like being a part of this, right? And listening, like, I really mean it, like, listening to what we're trying to do. We're trying to be quite different from the rest of the market, right? And because of that, it means that we need to remain focused, right? If you trust in what Tribe is doing, right, and you trust our ability to prioritize as we've always prioritized you, always. Like, okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of alpha here. There would have been nobody in the world who would have structured a partnership like we did with Ether. Almost every other partner would have extracted for the entity. We didn't even extract for the entity, right? Tribe is getting paid less than $5,000 a month to support Ether at the moment. We wanted to bring our cash, anything that we were bringing, incredibly low. Because what did we prioritize? It was try to get more ethers into your guys' hands. There's not another fucking entity who would have structured the deal like this, right? There would have been nothing like an entity that would have put our time, our emphasis, our credibility, and still put holders first, right? And that's what Tribe continues to do no matter what. We continue to show up every single day because our goal is to keep giving you guys more value. And that's the biggest advantage of what we're trying to do. Tribe still accumulating, our treasury. Tribe does receive upside as well in regard to keeping ethers in our treasury too. But the majority of the ethers we're receiving and or buying, our plan is to distribute that back. And that's kind of the other thing, right? And that's kind of the other opportunity here as well. Yeah, I don't want to say that Tribe saved Ether. I don't believe that. I think Tribe was a very meaningful piece to mend them to this point. Ether still has, I agree with Cash. Ether still has a huge stuff they need to deliver, right? Art first projects are one of the hardest to sustain. But if you have an artist that is dedicated, it can become a game changer. Here's the beauty about Ether, and we'll wrap up on this and we'll give out some stuff, is that Ether's opportunity is V is the most active, hardworking artist I've seen for an art first project in a very long time. Like, as much as I know V may have flaws, as every founder and builder may do, I would want to give him his flowers. His last month of execution has been solid as an artist. The question is, though, is he going to be able to build at a builder pace and not an artist pace? And that's going to be his biggest challenge. Artist pace is slow in terms of delivery of content because creating great art takes a long time. V sharing some interesting reveals right here, right? But the biggest challenge is, right, is that it needs to be faster. It needs to have pace to maintain the market's attention. So this is where, V is going to make the challenge, and he's going to have to figure out how to execute on that and to breathe it life. But here's the reason why you could at least count on Ether being interesting for at least the next 3 months. The real reasons is that Ether can sustain because he is giving value back to the ecosystem without extracting money. This is actually what a lot of people don't realize. He's going to give out 6 figures worth of prizes, right? And this is kind of like an amazing thing out there. Oh shit, Kill him. Is that real? Is that unrevealed Gundam in Ether capsule? That's actually killer if that's a real thing. Holy shit, that's amazing. Yeah, if Drew confirms, then we know it's real. That's insane. So hopefully that's in one of my fucking capsules because I want that shit. But it's probably not. It's probably in the other treasury capsules. But there's a lot of interesting stuff, man. Even the triple corrupt. Ooh, that one's sick, whizbang. Also, there's the really sick corrupt, that the multicolored corrupt, right? The king of the corrupts, right? It's a corrupt that has all five colors involved, I believe. That one's still unrevealed as well. So this is actually kind of like a huge fan, right? Is that, a huge opportunity, I mean, is that there's still amazing stuff to be revealed in that project. But, again, it's, can an artist maintain the pace of execution in a primarily short-term world? And almost every artist project has struggled with that. And that's what V is going to have to figure out, right? Is like, I'm very curious to see where this challenge and whether or not he can scale. But that's also what Tribe learned, right? Tribe had a very different vision for Ether. We wanted to move way faster. We wanted to execute. We wanted to build. We wanted to launch, right? But in the end, right, what I think is actually really powerful is recognizing, like, at least V's empowered as an artist. If there's one thing that Tribe saved, it was saving V to still be a creator. And I know V might be polarizing based off what externally versus internally, but V is very talented. V is very, very solid in what he is doing from an art perspective. The one of ones he shows me are beautiful, right? And that's what I love about V. He is really figuring it out. Don't get me wrong, ICOB. It's like Amy too. I agree, and I'll take that talent, right? I'll take short-lived talent too, right? The question, right, of course, is can he lead that to a finished product, right? At least Amy Winehouse was able to deliver a few albums, right? The question here now, and this is the same thing with V. V now needs to, like, V just put out his mixtape, right? Which, was came out with, different clay, people were excited and some were not as excited, right? He now here, yeah, I'm wrong comparing to Winehouse. That's a really good comparison for him, right? I think you were too nice in that comparison. But this is kind of why I'm very curious to see can he translate it. But I'm telling you, for anime art, I know this is going to be. I don't want this as FUD. I want to be very clear. This is not going to be FUD for me, but I want to be very honest. Ether art is so much better than every anime project out there. It's not even close in my opinion, right? Like I do not think this market realizes how hard it is to build great anime art, and not relying on flats is so important, right? But that's not enough though to sustain, right? That's the other important thing. Regardless of if I think it's the best, let's be very honest, this market doesn't give a fuck about, right? This market doesn't, right? The wider market doesn't. So now, again, this is now going to be V's challenge, right? Is like, how is he going to get the rest of the market, right, to be able to open up and allow for all this stuff to kind of scale through? So there's a lot of interesting challenges. We're going to see where the market's going to go. We're going to learn a lot in regard to Ether, but this is also where Tribe learned. Like, Tribe's probably not going to take any postman projects again. It's probably rare. It's probably not worth our value long term. But even on an experiment, we were able to go into that experiment and we're probably going to return at least like 40 ETH worth of value to our community. That's crazy on an experiment. We're still able to get that type of value to the entity as well. So we want to see where these are going, but where do we still survive? Where do we deliver the most value? And where do we create the most upside? It's pre-mint relationship. It's pre-mint projects, right? And that's kind of what we're going to continue to keep as our bread and butter while we launch our own stuff too. But that's what we learn. And that's the great thing is we experimented here. We gave a decent amount of protections behind it and we were able to kind of get access for ourselves. And I'm still a believer of the art. Like, I'm not gonna. I still think my PFP is the fucking best looking PFP in the market. I really significantly believe that. I fucking love my PFP, right? I love the design that we're creating. I love the structure of this art. So for me, I'm incredibly happy with where it turned out. But also as a builder, I learned amazing data. I learned exactly where I need to be. I learned where the difficulties are of melding cultures real time. I understand the differences of working with artist first led projects versus non-artist led projects. We want to bring all of these together. If we can connect all of these pieces, we get to another level. And again, because we now have exposure to an anime brand, that's really, really important. And again, I think this is where I'm going to give V. This is what I think the pitch V should be doing. I don't know if he's going to communicate it like this, right? Because V has his own way of managing and sharing the story. But I do want to be very clear. What's amazing about V, right? What's amazing about what he's doing is that he is actually massively creating the first cast of an anime brand characters that are owned by community holders. I think there's something really special there, right? Imagine you held the first five characters in a major anime series, and those were actually held by individual owners. There's something really interesting that could open up from that, where it's community owned IP, right? This is not what Azuki is doing. Azuki is keeping the characters in their treasury that they're going to build the IP around. He's doing it the other way. He's creating custom characters that are going to serve as the foundation of his anime brand IP moving forward. That is a fucking interesting experiment. Does it mean it's an interesting experiment, right? That's going to be scaling way faster? No. But remember, it doesn't have to be a full anime. That's where I think a lot of you guys are twisted. By creating a cast, he could do short form animated, like 10, 15-second teasers, which he already has coming up. But the other thing here, right, that he's really going to be able to create is, man, if he moves this to a manga, like I still believe the manga upside is there. And that's also a major reason why Tribe's still maintaining a relationship with Ether, right? Tribe is just an advisor to Ether. Like Tribe is working with Ether very similar to how we work with any one of our village partners, right? And that's kind of why it's actually pretty exciting, is that we're all now on the same plane, right? Same thing with Dimensionals, right? Even though we were partnered with Dimensionals, Dimensionals making their own choices. Even though we're partnered with Ether, Ether's making their own choices. Even though we're partnered with TWL, TWL is making their own choices. And, that's how all of these structures work. But our goal really, really is going to be, right, at this whole level of design, is going to be making sure that you guys are getting amazing pieces of art, amazing pieces of ownership, and you get to be part of new experiments that weren't possible in Web 2. And I think V has something here if he pitches it like that. Does that mean that that value accrual is good for the entire community? Maybe not at his pace, right? If I were him, I would have already been starting on the manga, right? That's the one thing I hope he accelerates here shortly. Because if he creates a community cast and there's a community game and there's a community manga, all with those characters, ooh, insane. That's incredibly, incredibly powerful. That could be really different as well. And I think that becomes the challenge is, yeah, can he do it? Don't get me wrong, I see a beast. You're asking the right question. But here's the best part is that he has one of the most loyal communities ever, right? So all he has to do is meet their expectations, right? If he can meet and or exceed their expectations, they all are going to come along with him. He's built a level of loyalty that's very right. And I want to give him a lot of credit on that. Is that going to be enough, right, to be able to sustain? Probably not. But is it interesting? Is it interesting to see? It can be really, really exciting. I think it's at least a interesting thing. Now, Spirit isn't a V all. I've talked to I know Spirit. So he's definitely not an alt. Spirit is a massive, massive whale who lives in Dubai. He's very, very kind person. Definitely not a V alt here as well. Never seen Spirit and V in the same country, to be honest. Don't get me wrong, Spirit is still anonymous, right? But Spirit actually has its own writings and stuff, even on the Ether project. And all I can tell you is his writing is significantly different than V's writing as well, right? Which is pretty interesting. So don't get me wrong, I think V still has real challenges, right? But here's the cool thing. In a bear market, he's still sustaining a healthy floor. In a bear market, he still hasn't even delivered his core product yet. and he's still maintaining a healthy floor, there should be some room. There should be some opportunity for him to move forward. Is this something that's going to break out to 1 ETH anytime soon? No, that's not the focus, right? What the focus is going to be is like, is this an asset that could hold a zero point 0.3 ETH sustainable floor? That's probably a more of achievable thing to be able to get a huge opportunity to scale. So that's kind of where I'm looking at Ether. Don't get me wrong, almost all projects have questions. Tribe has questions, right? What are we going to do? Ronin, what are we going to do? Oath. What are we going to do with all these pieces? What are we going to do with Tabula Rasa, which is getting a name change that we're going to share later this week? There's a lot of cool things that are getting to this point, right? But our challenge here, right, is still making sure that we're working with the right partners and being able to understand where this market is going. And if we can do it right, we can be in a very powerful position. So, Ether is worthy of our exposure. But again, make sure, right, that you are going to ensure that your opportunity, right, as you participate in our world, is really about you finding the areas you want exposure to as well. We never hard shelled Ether here, right? Like, I don't come up and tell you guys to go buy Ether right now, right? If anyone I did maybe hard shield to, it's diamonds because they had an incentive to do so. But in reality, right, we don't push any of this stuff out, right? We're not pushing the stuff out to be able to put you in a position where you're going to regret it. It's, hey, let me show you the opportunity of what we're doing. Here's why we're excited, right? And now you can go choose where you want to be able to go here as well, right? On this design. This was supposed to be a shorter session. I did go way further on this one. This one way longer. I lie to myself all the time. I need to keep doing shorter sessions. But this was actually a fascinating conversation because as I move through this concept of focus, what I'm really doing here is I'm trying to incept the ideas of our business into you guys so that you could also have long-term conviction with us, right? That's the hardest challenge here as well. So I do appreciate you guys sticking with us for these larger conversations. All right, let's do our favorite thing. Let's go ahead to the secret chamber and we can wrap up here really quickly. Secret chamber. Let us add a new code. Oh, we're gonna make this one shorter, so you got to be paying attention now. What's this role? This is Find your vibe focus. Did I call this? Yep. All right. The code is 6954. The code is 6954. Make sure you use that /secret and you'll be able to get that. Nice. Um, all right. The code is 6954. You should be all able to get that here as well. Guys, I appreciate you joining in. Appreciate you just hearing our thoughts. Tribe has a lot of things to focus on. We're gonna actually have some more events kind of come up here shortly, but really starting next week, you're gonna see us really hit the ground running. You're gonna see the Tribe passport sequence get set up. You're gonna see the Tribe. You're gonna see the reveal of Tabula Rasa mature into another brand. So there's gonna be a new brand name we're introducing. As much as I love Tabula Rasa, we definitely want to move to something that's a little bit easier for the market to understand. So you're going to see a new comic book publisher here as well. And then lastly, what we're also going to be able to do is we're going to share a little bit more of our vision on partnerships and how we're going to do allocations moving forward. So lots of good things. I know Geoverse is still minting. If you have allocation, I'm probably pausing. I'm not really thinking you're going to see a lot of buy pressure here. So again, it's probably not something I'd be recommending here at the moment right now. But spend some time, take a look at all the projects out there. If there's anything else you think is bullish that you want to get access to, let us know. Right? We want to continue to get you guys more allocations here. I do owe you guys a lot of DMs and messages. Sorry if I haven't got to it. I'm currently sitting at 398 messages. Oh my god, on just Discord. This doesn't even include my email, and I don't check Twitter DM. So please do not DM me at the moment right now on Twitter. But I will go through all of this stuff here on Discord at the end of the day. By the end of tomorrow, I should be fully through, but should hopefully get half of them through today. So I appreciate you guys being a part of this and seeing what everything is. Guys, go enjoy the rest of your day. Go enjoy, see what's happening in the world of Web3. hopefully you find some more opportunities to be a part of, and we'll hopefully see you along in a future session. I'll be adding a few more events this week, but the biggest event, if you want a little bit of alpha, is